Adult.
Action News has learned exclusively tonight that some Hawthorne police officers have made remarks on duty that are arguably racist, anti-Semitic, and anti-homosexual. In this exclusive Action News investigation, our Harvey Levin says the information obtained has the Hawthorne Police Department trying to explain the actions of some of its officers.
Action News has obtained transcripts of conversations between some officers of the Hawthorne Police Department, conversations which include slurs against blacks, Jews, and other minorities. The transcripts are from computers that are installed in every police car. Officers can type messages to other patrol officers, dispatchers, and administrative brass. Here are some examples of remarks made by several Hawthorne police officers. Why do black people smell? So blind people can hate them too. What's the American dream? 30,000 blacks swimming back to Africa with a Jew under each arm. Did you hear Rock Hudson opened a cookie franchise before he died? It's called Famous Anus. How do you fit 300 Jews in a Volkswagen? 2 in front, 2 in back, and 296 in the ashtray. Tonight, a Hawthorne police official told us the department was aware of these messages.
An investigation was conducted, and the outcome of that is a personnel matter, which I'm prohibited by law of discussing, but we did investigate that fully at the time.
Are some of the people involved in this still on the force?
Yes, they are.
Once a message is typed on a police car computer, it's printed out at a police communications center. These messages were recorded in 1987, but our sources say there are many other recent examples. Do you think the messages that we showed you tonight are racist?
By definition, they probably are, yes, but I don't know. You know, I'm not an expert on that subject.
A police spokesman claims many of the remarks were taken out of a joke book, that they were not made up by the police officers. The spokesman said he thought perhaps the real culprit may be the publisher of the book.
Thanks a lot, Harvey.
Last night, Action News has learned exclusively that some Hawthorne police officers have made remarks on duty that are arguably racist, anti-Semitic, and anti-homosexual. Today, a police dispatcher with the Hawthorne Department tells our Harvey Levin this was not an isolated incident. The problem is ongoing and widespread. There was swift reaction today to our exclusive Action News report last night. We obtained transcripts of conversations between some officers of the Hawthorne Police Department, conversations which include slurs against various minorities. The transcripts Action News obtained are from computers that are installed in every police car. Officers can type messages to other patrol officers and dispatchers. The messages are then printed out at a police communications center. Here are a few examples of remarks made by several Hawthorne police officers in 1987. Why do black people smell? So blind people can hate them too. What's the American dream? 30,000 blacks swimming back to Africa with a Jew under each arm. Did you hear Rock Hudson opened a cookie franchise before he died? It's called Famous Anus. How do you fit 300 Jews in a Volkswagen? 2 in front, 2 in back, and 296 in the ashtray. Last night, a Hawthorne police spokesman told us the department knew of the remarks.
An investigation was conducted, and the outcome of that is a personnel matter, which I'm prohibited by law of discussing, but we did investigate that fully at the time.
Are some of the people involved in this still on the force?
Yes, they are.
But today, several Hawthorne police dispatchers told us the slurs haven't stopped. This Hawthorne police dispatcher wanted anonymity.
Does it happen with some regularity?
Yes, it does. And it has been occurring ever since I've been there.
Tell me which groups are the subject of these slurs.
Blacks, gays, Hispanics, Jews, females.
A Hawthorne police spokesman told me many of these transmissions are considered private conversations between officers. But these transmissions print out for others in the department to see. And some say these slurs affect them.
You want to respond, but you can't. You need your job, so you don't. It hurts you.
Several dispatchers have told us racial slurs frequently are made on Hawthorne police radios.
One in particular that really got to me was on the radio, a black female dispatcher with a particularly heavy black accent, and they came on the radio and said, "Is this Aunt Jemima?"
The officer said, "Is this Aunt Jemima?"
Yes. One in particular I remember is a dispatcher blatantly calling a black female dispatcher a black bitch.
Today, several civil rights groups reacted to our reports.
If they tell that in the locker room is one thing, but that to make a record of it and to continue to do it shows us a kind of insensitivity and a kind of brazenness that is disturbing.
We hope that the Hawthorne Police Department moves swiftly to deal with the situation, because we are going to move swiftly in trying to ascertain who's being responsive to this type of racial discrimination and who's not.
Today, the Hawthorne Police Department responded to our stories. In a written statement, the police chief said the subject matter of the messages we reported last night, quote, could be offensive to a great number of people. He continued by saying, the police department does not in any way seek to dilute this incident, only that it occurred some years ago and that there is no cause for further investigation. Now today, a Hawthorne police official told us that the department's switchboard has been flooded by calls from our viewers. That official says the calls are running 50-50. Half the people are critical of the department, the other half complaining about, quote, cheap, tainted journalism on behalf of CBS.
These police officers knew that their transmissions were being recorded on paper, and naturally some other people would see them. It seems almost incredible.
Well, two theories about that. One, from what I heard today from one of the police spokesmen, you forget about it after a while when you know it's being recorded, but it happens over a period of time, you forget. The second theory is, somebody told me last night from the department that at least this spokesman felt that there's a reasonable expectation of privacy, even though it's printed out. And he was highly critical of us getting hold of these documents because he felt that any conversations between the officers should simply be confidential communications between the two of them and is no business of ours.
Fascinating. They seem almost to have forgotten
racial, religious news at 6. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jose Sanders, sitting in for Chris Kanangla.
And I'm Tricia Toyota. Our top story tonight, an Action News investigation has now turned up evidence that police officer and civil rights crusader Don Jackson has been systematically harassed by the Hawthorne Police Department. Jackson is currently on leave from the Hawthorne Police Department. In an interview with our investigative reporter Harvey Levin, Jackson described an incident when he was driving through Hawthorne, an incident which Jackson says almost caused him serious injury.
They all of a sudden jump into their police cars like they've got some pursuit or some big call that they're going to go to. And they're swerving in front of my path, and they missed the front of my Corvette by probably 2 or 3 inches at a time. They nearly ran me off the road because I didn't have any place to go. So this little game of chicken and cat and mouse continued all the way down Imperial Highway.
Action News has obtained a transcript of police car radio transmissions that describe the confrontation between Don Jackson and the Hawthorne PD. One officer said, quote, "Can you get him?" Another responded, "Don't do it, no BS." Officer, cat and mouse time. Officer, I'm getting sick of that jerk. How come one guy can make a whole PD cower? Hawthorne police officials concluded they were justified in stopping Jackson because they thought he was driving with expired plates. In fact, he had current plates. Action News has obtained a copy of Don Jackson's personnel file. The department was particularly upset by this, Jackson's undercover effort to show racism existed in the Long Beach Police Department. 16 Hawthorne police officials even signed a petition asking for Jackson's termination based on the Long Beach incident. Another Jackson undercover operation in Westwood 1988 drew further ire from his department. This memo was written by the current police chief, Stephen Port, who investigated the Westwood incident. Port called Jackson's sting, quote, a conspiracy, and added, quote, the affiliation with the NAACP as documented in this investigation goes to its highest level.
I've made it warm for them, and they want to make it warm for me.
Jackson has even been accused of sexual misconduct. Last week, Jackson testified as an expert witness in a civil rights lawsuit against the Hawthorne PD. On cross-examination, Hawthorne's lawyer didn't spare any punches.
They now claim that I was dealing dope from the police station, that I forced this woman to give me oral copulation at gunpoint in my patrol car on a nightly basis.
Do you think Don Jackson was harassed by the department?
No, I'm not going to comment about that, Harvey.
That's a fair question, isn't it? Whether he was harassed or not?
Not necessarily. When you're dealing with personnel problems and the chief of police has said, tell the man to schedule it through my office.
If I can get Don Jackson here today, could you give me a comment as to whether you think he was harassed?
Well, I'll tell you, I don't think he was harassed, no.
Action News has also learned the Hawthorne PD asked the DA to criminally prosecute Jackson based on the word of a prostitute and drug abuser that Jackson tried to obstruct justice in a drug case by destroying evidence. Now, this document shows that the DA rejected the case based on insufficient evidence.